21 years of age, saw my graduation photograph, and I was like, right, I need to start running. But also, from a mental health point of view, I felt it was very important for me to be mindful, and that's continued post-COVID. I always say that you speak to so many people during the day, different personalities that aren't similar to you,
right?
But you're almost the anchor. So you are you influence how they respond to you,
right?
And that's really important to me.
Yeah.
And the calmness side of it. I always say calmness is key.
Welcome to Real People, Real Results, Real Change, the podcast that's dedicated to helping real people develop real health and fitness in their lives. Real people like you, business owners, professionals, house husbands and housewives, and students. I'm Stefan, I'm a personal wellness coach at YouFit Studio, and I'll be your host. This episode, I'm talking with Simel Kara, design thinker, calm influencer, creative executor, and consulting director of YouSP. Over his 20-year cross-sector career, Simel has delivered business efficiencies through full life cycle and strategic management of infrastructure, print-based, digital and application development projects. In this episode, we are discussing self-development, the role of fitness in self-development, and how you go about growing a success-focused mindset. I guess what I'm really curious about is kind of what's inspired, because we talked before, right, about self-development and stuff like that a little bit. But I've never asked you, like, in detail, what inspired that? What started you off on your self-development journey?
I'm a naturally curious person, so for me, learning is part of my growth mindset. And I always feel like knowledge is power, but aligned with that, you've also got the real focus that you have to have some kind of action behind that. And whether it be fitness or from a business point of view or a personal point of view, there are always elements there where I feel that as much information as you can gather, the more armed you are during your day, your week, your year, your career, etc., etc.
Right. So, tell us about some of that information then.
Sure, yeah.
What are you armed with, Simel?
Sure. So for me, I have a multitude of interests. So music, fitness, history, any kind of knowledge. I'm kind of like a gatherer of knowledge. And I find during my day that at certain points, I am either Googling something that I don't know in terms of a word or something that's kind of sparked an interest in my brain. And I just kind of go on this kind of trail of information just to kind of get that information inside of my head. And I guess it's that natural curiosity, creativity coming out. And that kind of manifests in various forms with regard my career path, and my other interests as well.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So curiosity is a big part of that. I'm really curious. So you're a calm influencer, correct? Okay. What is a calm influencer?
Sure. So I have always thought that throughout life, there's just this line of peacefulness and calmness that runs through it. You can have days that are ups and downs during your day, but if you maintain a level of calmness and relaxation, and for example, I've been practicing meditation, even if it's 5 minutes during the day.
Right.
It's just having that grounding back into a calmness that I find helps. And the term calm influencer is for me really important because, for example, I always say that you speak to so many people during the day, different personalities that aren't similar to you,
right?
But you're almost the anchor. So you influence how they respond to you.
Right.
And that's really important to me.
Yeah.
And the calmness side of it. I always say calmness is key. And
Nice.
it really is, because if you're calm, then the other person will be calm.
Yes.
And they'll be able to make rational decisions off the back of
So
that.
you become almost that still space that enables other people to develop and express.
Indeed.
Get inspired.
Indeed.
Okay,
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
What kind of people are you working with?
A whole mix. So recently, I'd probably say about a year ago, within my workspace, we have about 10 to 12 people, members of staff, and we recently carried out a kind of a DISC evaluation, which predominantly focuses on different personalities and types of birds.
Okay.
So a parrot or an owl or an eagle or a dove, and all of those different birds have different personalities.
Okay, yes.
So we figured out during that day that the team is a mix of those different sorts of personalities, and it's understanding those different personalities and vibing off them and working with them that you can get the best results.
Okay. Okay. So it's that skill mix.
Indeed.
But also personality, talent,
Yeah.
Energy, all those different things that people bring.
Absolutely, yeah. And I really pride myself on flexing as much as I can to the other person and their personality.
Yeah.
So, for example, if they're an owl, which is kind of, they are very diligent and they follow a process, you've got to appreciate the fact that they're like that.
Yeah.
But also from an eagle point of view, which I am, you almost want to say to them, right, okay, there is a process, but we've got a timeline.
So it sounds like you have that top-down view in some sense. You have that higher perspective or that wider perspective in a sense as the eagle, right?
Sure.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So how do you maintain that then? Let's talk about you for a second.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So how do you do? So you mentioned meditation. Is that a long-term thing, or is that sort of a more recent sort of journey or experiment that you've been focusing on?
It's more recent. It's more recent. I found that over the last few years, specifically with regard during and post-COVID, where you had a lot of time.
Yes.
to spend, but also from a mental health point of view, I felt it was very important for me to be mindful, and that's continued post-COVID as well, and it helps me from a working aspect, but also a personal aspect.
Yeah.
And I feel it's paramount. That 5 minutes a day during a particular part of the day, where I can kind of just zone in, close my eyes, and just optimize myself really, really helps me, I find.
Is that following like a formal meditation practice of particular sorts, or is this more sort of a personal sort of experiment and just discovering what works for you?
Yeah,
or combination.
It's a combination. Yeah. So I during lockdown I used various meditation apps. Since I've joined up to a few courses which have kind of demonstrated and shown me how to work through various processes and techniques to get to a really good place where I can optimize.
Okay.
But also there is a element of freestyle as well for me.
Right.
So I'm one of those people that, whether it's a positive or negative trait, don't really like to be told what to do.
Yeah.
So I
strike out on your own.
Indeed, yeah. That's where the eagle comes into it.
Okay.
So for me, it's about almost kind of setting up my day. So I'm very at the start of the day, I know and almost kind of mentally create a task list to go through the day and kind of mentally tick it off. And there's nothing like striking something off a list, whether it's mentally done or physically done.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so you're not, I mean, I'm guessing you probably do use like tools or, apps or different things maybe to kind of assist with that, but actually you're getting your head right into that space from
Yes.
the get-go
Yeah.
and lining those dots up, as it were.
Yes, that's right.
And making a conscious, I've completed that. And having that sense of satisfaction,
Yeah.
I guess getting that dopamine hit, right, that's been done, but also marking yourself off throughout the day, knowing where you're at, but also I guess having to flex at times as well, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, but setting off in that stall probably helps massively, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
So fitness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know this is close to your heart as well,
Yep,
right?
indeed.
What role is that playing in your life?
Huge. It's completely synchronous to my way of life, and everybody has an epiphany, in inverted commas, that they have with their fitness journey. I've kind of really had two.
Okay.
So
That's greedy, right?
It is greedy, but it's probably reverse to type. I would imagine from an eagle point of view, personality point of view. First one, 21 years of age, saw my graduation photograph, and I was like, right, I need to start running.
Yeah.
I felt at that point that, and those are kind of your formative years. You're kind of growing up, and you're going to university, and then you're going out into the big wide world.
Right, yes.
And there is an aspect there where you want to be even better.
Yes.
So I started running and continued with that right up until to this point. However, I was still going to the gym, I was still doing classes, I was still doing various bits of fitness which kind of complemented all of that.
Yeah, okay.
But during the first lockdown, I tore my rotator cuff.
Right, yes.
And there was a period where I couldn't train. And that's where the meditation and the mindfulness really kicked in, because it helped me to kind of ground back in and relax. Whereas the fitness side of my life helps me to completely relax. So I'm one of those people. You have two sorts of people. The first batch of people that train in the morning,
right. Yep.
or who train in the evening.
Yes.
I can't train in the evening. I just can't. I need to work out in the morning and then get it done and then carry on with my day. But not having that during lockdown because of the injury meant that I wasn't having that release.
Yes.
So I wasn't having the endorphins flying around my body and everything.
Yep.
And the mindfulness aspect and the meditative aspect helped with that, because it kind of relaxed me and it grounded me back down again. Yeah. I then was in a position where I could get the injury looked at, and after a period of physio over 3-4 months, I found a studio where I had my second epiphany, as it were, and I've seen the best results that I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, yeah. There's a few bits I want to unpack there, but
Sure.
So what time do you train in the morning?
I'm usually in about 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Okay. And what does your training look like? Like what is that for you at the moment?
I have a bespoke program, and it's predominantly based around strength. I'm actually coming out of a bit of a journey with regard leaning out.
Okay.
So my initial target was to lose body fat and get to a point where I can create a foundation. And as I call it, I tend to kind of say to everybody, build the foundation and then build the 3 floors and the roof.
Right.
So I've built the foundation, and I got down to 5.8% body fat.
Okay, wow.
And
well done.
Thank you. Yes. I was inspired by so many people in the studio and the coaches there as well. It was absolutely fantastic. 5.8% body fat. I got down to a kind of a really good base weight for me to then have a launch pad to go into the next phase of my program, and kind of bulk program.
Okay. So lots of questions. I mean, just the most simplest, like how do you do that? How do you do that? How do you get what do you have to line up in your head and also in your life
Sure.
right, to support that kind of journey and build that kind of foundation.
Sure. I always see myself as a really disciplined person, and I'm really focused, ambitious. There's a lot of grit behind the work that I put in.
Right.
And for me, it comes down to the central question of how much do you want it?
Yeah.
So how much do you want, not just from a fitness point of view, how much do you want anything in life? If you want it, as much as you want it, then you will do whatever it takes to kind of
Right.
get to that point.
Yeah. Yes.
So for me, it was almost, it's really interesting. When I first sat down with my coach, the initial target was maybe a 12% body fat,
Okay.
and build a level of a foundation. But as I went along the journey, I was seeing results that, as I mentioned, I'd not seen before ever.
Yeah.
And it was almost a competitive thing with myself. So
Right.
the way that I term it is your only competition is yourself. So from my point of view, I was trying to beat myself.
Okay.
And there's one thing that I wake up and say every morning is that I am unbeatable.
Okay.
So
Powerful.
so that's my daily ritual. So I wake up and go, I am.
And that's not an arrogance, right?
No.
Because this is about yourself.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we touched upon self-development earlier on. I think that feeds really well into self-development. And it almost kind of elevates you and it boosts you
Yeah.
during the day.
Yes.
And I find that kind of positive spin and positive language alongside the meditative side, alongside the fitness and everything else that encompasses my life is the complete holistic package.
Yeah.
There's the nutrition side, of course, but your mindset is really important.
Okay. And when you're competitive against yourself in that way, so you're saying like what more can I do?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that out of a place of frustration and disappointment, or is that I've done that, what else can I do kind of thing, or something else? Like what's that feel like?
It's the latter. It's the latter. Yeah. I'm one of those people that needs a target.
Yeah.
And then I want to completely smash that target.
Okay.
And completely beat that target and then realign and retarget again.
Okay.
And that's the only way that I see results. And for me, that's the only way that I see my own personal progression.
Yes.
To just get to the best version of myself.
Okay. So you mentioned nutrition. Okay. Tell me about nutrition. What part does that play? How does that work for you?
Sure, it's huge for me. As I mentioned before, I've always kind of dabbled in the fitness side, but nutrition for me was the biggest unlock in terms of results.
Okay.
So they always say that 60% of your journey, your fitness journey, is based on nutrition.
Right.
And I've always loved food. Who doesn't? But it's working with food and the different macros, so proteins, fats, and carbs, that really has helped me go from a base level into a level that I'd never really imagined before.
Okay. And so how granular have you had to get with that? Or,
Sure.
And is that something that's progressed and changed over time?
Indeed, yeah. So I'm very kind of disciplined, as I mentioned before. So I've tracked my food on various food tracking apps for about 675 days approximately.
Okay. Give or take.
Give or take. I weigh myself daily and have done for 18 months or so, continuously every single day.
Yeah, and that's not obsessive, right? That's just about knowing where you're at, so you can make adjustments. Is that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we audit and track during work, day in, day out.
Yeah.
And
Right.
the biggest thing for me with regard my journey is that first and foremost, it was an investment in myself. But from a return on investment point of view, I need to track both weight and my food. It's not for everybody.
No.
But for myself, I find that it gives me even better results at the end of it.
Yeah. I mean, tell me if you disagree with this, but my experience has been with people is that where they like that attention to detail, is lean into it.
Sure.
and embrace that. That's positive. It's not for everyone. As
Indeed.
you say, we all have a different style, but where you are a detail-oriented person, that it just pays dividends when you lean into it and just embrace it and go for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so we're starting to run a bit short of time now. So, top tips for people listening, okay, like, or watching, like, what would you recommend? And let's talk about people like with similar style to yourself, right?
Sure.
So detail-oriented, eagles, right? So seeing that bigger picture, got that perspective on things, wanting to challenge yourself, push yourself, you know, just and not in a detrimental way, but just that steady, progressive. Like, what can I do next? How can I improve that? What's my next target? Or you know, if I could do that, what can I do? Go on. What are some of the sort of the things we can have as takeaways?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing for me is don't be shy in asking questions, whether it be of your colleagues or your mentors or your coaches, where you see a level of success or excellence, always try and learn from that. It's the biggest thing. It will grow your mind and it will allow you to really optimize different parts of your life, whether it be from a physiological point of view or a kind of mental health point of view. I feel that's really important. It always comes down to how positive you are as well. If you're a positive person, I kind of call it the 3 C's. So communication, coordination, collaboration.
Okay.
So if you can hit those 3 C's, you'll be doing okay.
Okay.
You'll be doing okay.
Amazing.
Yeah, and again, it comes down to calmness for me. As long as you can kind of have that line of calmness, you will be okay. But the biggest tip I would probably say is just reach out and just be as curious as possible.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Simel.
My pleasure.
I've really enjoyed this chat, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thank you, Stefan.
Okay.